Against the wind, crossing for the red face. Chapter 1, Falling into the Red Abyss. Lu Ruyan is a traverser. She was originally an ordinary white-collar worker in the 21st century, until one day, because of an accident, her soul traveled to ancient times and entered the harem of the Dacian dynasty. When she woke up, she found that she had become a woman with a tragic fate in the harem, Lu Hanyan, the emperor's favorite concubine who died early in history and was ignored by no one. Lu Ruyan couldn't help but smile bitterly. This is really a joke made by God. Crossing is nothing new, and many heroines in time-traveling novels always have a halo, relying on wisdom or beauty to turn the tables and finally become a legend in history. And she became the legendary cannon fodder female partner, which made her deeply depressed. Her previous life Lu Hanyan is just a charming and kind-hearted girl, but she has no wisdom. Although she was born into a famous family, she was regarded as a tool by her parents and married the emperor who was much older than her, Emperor Dacian. Such a marriage should have been happy, but unfortunately Lu Hanyan was always caught in a conspiracy in the palace and finally died. And now Lu Ruyan unexpectedly became her, reborn in this world full of palace fights and intrigues, and learned that sooner or later she would be snubbed by the emperor and become a tool for favor in the palace, and finally disappeared silently in the long river of history. It's not going to work. Lu Ruyan took a deep breath, gritted her teeth, and vowed not to let this fate continue. She decided that she could no longer rely on appearance and fate, but to take the initiative and find her own path. Now that you have been born again, you should always have a little power to resist. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 2, Breaking the Prison of Fate. The day after Lu Ruyan woke up, he found himself lying on a gorgeous bed, surrounded by a splendid palace. She looked at everything around her, all the decorations betraying an unquestionable authority, and she was a canary in this ornate cage. However, the canary does not intend to rest on its laurels. Lu Hanyan's identity makes her seem to have natural advantages, beautiful, intelligent, and docile, which is the reason why she attracts the emperor, and it is also the weapon that she once believed in the past. However, as time passed, she realized that these so-called advantages did not protect her, but would make her a target for other concubines to compete for favor. Her appearance can't resist the conspiracy in the palace, and wisdom and means are her most important reliance. Since there is no escaping all this, then I will be the protagonist in this chess game. Lu Ruyan meditated in her heart. She began to carefully observe everyone and everything in the palace, even the gossip of the palace that had once only appeared in her books. She soon discovers that the emperor is not alone in this court who can decide everything. Of course, it is not easy for a low-level concubine like her to turn over, but she has one of the biggest advantages. She knows her position and is not superstitious about the prejudices of the outside world. Lu Ruyan began to act. She cautiously established contact with each palace maid, and used her natural affinity to gradually win over the key people in the palace. And most importantly, she learned to keep a low profile and never let herself be too conspicuous. Under such a strategy, Lu Ruyan began to slowly exert her ingenuity. At first, the concubines in the palace turned a blind eye to her, thinking that she was no different from other women, but Lu Ruyan knew that she had to create opportunities for herself, and even the emperor didn't have to rely too much on her at first. She chooses to slow down, give herself time to plan, and find the loopholes in her harem. In the harem, Lu Ruyan discovered many potential enemies and several powerful allies. She has established trust with a brilliant eunuch Li Yan, a man who once worked for the powerful in the palace and knows all kinds of intrigues in the palace, and she has slowly learned the truth about the deceit in the palace. Underscore 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 un. Chapter 3, The Red Face in the Palace, and the Struggle for Power. Lu Ruyan soon discovered that the emperor's favor for her was not as deep as rumored. Emperor Dacian was a wise and ruthless man, and he had a balanced attitude towards each of his concubines. No matter how delicate Lu Ruyan is, she still can't escape the rules in the deep palace. And the root of all this is that the emperor's love for her is not deep and meaningful, but a kind of use. While she was slowly groping and adapting to the rules of the court, another woman named Shen Qianchu began to catch her attention. Mirias. Shen is beautiful, intelligent, and scheming. Soon after she entered the palace, she attracted the attention of all the concubines, and Emperor Dacian seemed to be particularly fond of her. Everyone believes that Miriam Shen's fate is about to rise, and she is likely to become the master of the harem. However, Lu Ruyan's calmness allowed her to quickly see through Miriam Shen's essence. Miriam Shen's scheming is not as subtle as she appears, but ruthless and bottomless. By chance, Lu Ruyan learns a shocking secret of Shen Qianchu, which will become her weapon to fight back. She began to conspire with Li Yan and devised a plan against Shen Qianchu. Lu Ruyan knew that if this move was successful, it would completely reverse her position in the harem and allow her to truly control her own destiny. Chapter 4, The Flipping of Conspiracy. Miriam Shen's secret was revealed silently by Lu Ruyan, and at a banquet in the palace, she cleverly revealed it with words. Shen Quncha was thrown into the cold palace on the spot, and this dramatic change in the palace made Lu Ruyan's status leap up. At this time, Lu Ruyan was no longer the cowardly woman, but became one of the most powerful forces in the palace. She knows very well that this is just the beginning, there is still a long way to go, and the intrigues and deceit of the harem will never end. And Lu Ruyan also understands in her heart that she has stood on a high ground in this game of scheming, but whether the price she paid is really worth it is only she can answer. However, none of this is any longer important. Her only goal now is to have her own destiny and no one else to decide her future. Hanjian, I will walk the road ahead. She whispered to herself, a determined glint in her eyes. Chapter 5, Variables in the Game. With the loss of Shen Qunchu, the situation in the harem has changed significantly, and Lu Ruyan's status has also risen, but this is not the ending she expected. Although she successfully escaped the threat of Shen Qunchu, a new crisis quietly descended. At the top of power, it is always difficult to maintain balance, and all victories are accompanied by new challenges. Lu Ruyan sat in her gorgeous palace, the thoughts in her mind kept surging. She now controls part of the power of the harem, and can even control the fate of some concubines and eunuchs. But she understands that this is only a superficial success, and the real challenge has only just begun. She has never been the kind of person who is satisfied with the status quo, and for her, this palace fight is not only a struggle for power, but also a struggle about how to control her destiny. She knows that if she is only satisfied with being a high concubine, she will never be able to be independent and truly control her own life. The emperor's favor does not mean everything. Lu Ruyan said softly to herself, with a hint of determination in her eyes. The court she is in is full of countless intrigues and conspiracies, which may turn the tables at any time. Lu Ruyan began to look farther away. The harem's deception is just a chess game, and she will eventually get out of this darkness and become the real master. Chapter 6, A Silent War. Lu Ruyan's strategy became more and more sophisticated, and she not only established her own power in the harem, but also secretly expanded to the outer palace. She found that the power in the court did not come from simple favor, but from the control and influence of the entire court. She turned her attention to hidden courtiers and, through covert work, established connections with powerful figures in political circles. By chance, Lu Ruyan got acquainted with an important minister named Gu Xiao. Gu Xiao is a young and promising eunuch. Although he has a low status on the surface, he actually holds great power secretly. This man is scheming and has a unique vision, whether it is the operation of the court or the secrets of the harem, he knows it well. At first, Lu Ruyan did not see him as an ally, because she knew that such a man would never trust others easily. However, when she found out that Gu Xiao was able to help her solve some of the toughest problems in the palace, she had to reassess the value of this person. Gu Xiao had already noticed that Lu Ruyan was unusual. She was not stuck in her own world like other concubines, but she had enough wisdom and courage to be able to gradually break all the shackles in such a court. Gradually, a mutually dependent partnership was established between the two, which allowed Lu Ruyan to gain a firm foothold in the harem and the imperial court. However, she knows that such a partnership is not a long-term solution. The game of intrigue in the palace is always full of countless variables. Gu Xiao's cooperation with her undoubtedly brought her more resources and strength, but also exposed her to greater risks. Chapter 7, The Truth is Uncovered. As Lu Ruyan gradually solidifies her position in the harem, she begins to have deep questions about her past. Although she knew that the identity she had originally crossed was Lu Hanyan, this cowardly woman was just an insignificant concubine of Emperor Dashan. But as she rises to prominence in the court, Lu Ruyan realizes that she seems to be hiding some secret in herself. One day, in a late-night secret meeting, Lu Ruyan inadvertently learned a shocking secret from Gu Xiao. It turned out that Lu Hanyan's background was not simple. Her mother was a nobleman from a foreign country, and she herself was a descendant of a powerful force. This news shocked Lu Ruyan. Her identity turned out to be more complex and dangerous than she had imagined. She is no longer just the concubine of Emperor Dashan, but has become an extremely important chess piece, which may change the pattern of the entire imperial court and even affect the future of the entire empire. I'm not just a palace woman, but I have a huge power behind me. Lu Ruyan's heart was shocked. She knew that she had to be careful not to let this secret be discovered. But does such an identity mean that she can really control everything? Or will it become the object of competition for others? Underscore 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 un. Chapter 8, The Peak of Power. As the truth is gradually revealed, Lu Ruyan begins to understand that her every step is destined to be closely related to the future of this empire. She is no longer just a palace concubine, but also the center of future power. However, such power is not so easy to obtain. Lu Ruyan gradually revealed her intelligence and ruthlessness in the palace, and her every move also subtly changed the attitudes of other concubines, eunuchs, and courtiers in the palace. Her name has gradually become the most threatening existence in the harem. But just when she thought everything was going to go according to her plan, an unexpected event upset the balance. Emperor Dashan suddenly fell seriously ill, the fate of the entire empire hung by a thread, and all forces in the harem began to move, and Lu Ruyan also found that her enemies were no longer the mediocre and incompetent concubines, but those powerful ministers in the court, and even the closest family of Emperor Dashan. This game of conspiracy will finally usher in the final showdown. And Lu Ruyan, how to choose her own life path has become the biggest challenge she must face.